Hey everyone, welcome to Founders365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today on episode 28, we have Jamie Mintrim. He is the co-founder of AppyQuote and founder of Mint Decor. How are you doing, Jamie?
Hi, Steven. Very well, thank you.
Good man. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm so looking forward to jumping into your story.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I've seen your various videos and interviews and quite excited to be able to share the story, and thanks for the opportunity for that.
Yeah, man, no worries. So straight into it. AppyQuote is the slightly newer baby, let's say, your second child.
Yeah.
Mint Decor is your first child that you've been running for 15 odd years. Talk me through what that one does, Mint Decor, and then how you've come about founding a technology product or co-founding a technology product. Because I just think that's such a great transition that most people don't do, let's face it.
Yeah, sure. And I think, appreciate your comment about calling it a baby because it is pretty, that's how it feels. You want to feed it. You want to see it grow. And the Mint Decor business was founded in 2005, the same year as YouTube, by the way. Which makes
the YouTube bandwagon back then.
It makes the business seem really old, actually, when you think about 2005 and what was around and what wasn't. And since those 15 years, we've had to take on board the different changes in marketing strategies, and the core of the business has always been the same. But a lot has changed in that time, hasn't it? So we've tried to adjust with that. But initially, Mint Decor is a small residential painting and decorating business based in Surrey, working in London, working for private clients, basically, that we have built up over the years, working on recommendation, referral, and repeat business.
Proper old school way of doing business.
The old school way of doing business. Over the years, we have dabbled in, the Google AdWords and the...
I love when people use the word dabbled, because I'm like, oh, there's obviously some sort of story there where you've gone all in or something, and it just either has worked or hasn't worked. Normally,
it's one of those stories, Stephen, where there's been days on end where, in my early days as a business owner, I wanted to learn everything and anything, because I would often get long periods of time sat in front of the computer where I was doing quotes for customers, admin, and I had motivational speaking and courses running in the background whilst I was working. And what they do sometimes is drive you to, well, why don't I buy this about Google AdWords and learn it myself? Sometimes as a business owner, you have that desire to do everything. And then as you go on, you realize actually outsourcing and doing what you're doing, what you do best is probably the best practice.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also a desire to keep busy. I'm a fidgety type where I've got a great work ethic, and I just like to keep busy. So I try to learn everything to do with these marketing strategies. But when we say dabble, the problem with dabbling is, like my the chap who runs my website, he says you never master.
Yeah,
you never master everything.
10, jack of all, master of none.
Yeah, and that was the problem. So we really stuck to just traditional ways to run a business. I mean, the business is healthy. The turnover is the same every year. The net profit is the same. There's certain things to be proud of, although sometimes not mastering these marketing systems can make you feel inadequate in the business way. But you just got to be proud of the consistency in things like cash flow, turnover, and repeat business, I think.
Yeah. So the big question: what happened a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, which has made you now have this second child? And what what happened in terms of the thought process of you going, okay, it's time for me now to create this tech product, to create this new edition?
Yeah. Well, there was, like I said just now, there were times I would watch motivational videos and international speakers. A guy called Dan Kennedy, who is a marketing guru and copywriter. I think one of the highest paid copywriters in the world. And we bought some of his courses. Are you aware of, you know Dan Kennedy? Or
Yeah. I was just saying, I'm pretty sure I've got his book somewhere near me.
Yeah. And, like I said, whilst doing quotes and admin at home, I would just plug in and tune into his information, along with Chris Cardell as well, who's the English version, I guess. And there were just things that you'd pick up in that sort of learning process that would almost say to you, look, you've got knowledge in your existing business that other people would like to hear, that they don't know yet, that they would happily pay for. And it sort of started like that, really. So the very first version, I wrote a business plan 4 years ago, and it was called Painting for Profits.
That's a good
and it was
book,
going to be targeted at just decorators, and i.e. teaching them systems that worked at Mint Decor. That was 4 years ago. The very first business plan was like drafted at home, shall we say. So it's actually incredible how I'm at this stage now, and it takes that long to get to this stage. That was a very simple business plan, Stephen, that was written on a Word document, from one of these templates that you just start to write, basically, and get stuff out of your head. And then, the concept, I guess, started on the information and knowledge that is familiar for me in the painting business, it would be valuable to other people.
Yeah.
And there's certain systems that have worked in my painting decorating business that would be valuable to other trades, basically. And it's almost letting out the trade secrets that have worked for you for other people. And there's a famous phrase, if there's something that you can't stop thinking about, you should probably do something about that.
Yeah. So from that initial business plan 4 years ago, and the cogs in your brain probably started to think in different ways and started to see things in a slightly different manner as well.
Yeah.
How did this then grow into what you're launching this year?
So 4 years ago, first thing on paper. 3 years ago, I had a trip to San Francisco, which is where my wife's brother lives and works out there. Quite an inspirational place in terms of, it's surrounded by water, really good for deep thinking. And it's one of those sort of places that I was sitting in a cafe with her, and I just said, I'm going to do something about this because I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Even when you're on holiday. So I got home from that holiday and wrote a second business plan that was way more structured. And right at the bottom of the business plan, it was some brainstorming notes, and it said it was actually at the time written to be web-based and a website, basically, for tradespeople to use the quoting system that worked for Mint Decor. And there's a certain system that we use that wins us business regularly because of the system we use and how we package it together for the client.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the gems of it for other tradespeople to use within AppyQuote. And it was a system that, once it was written down as a second business plan, it was a case of sending it out to people who develop these systems. The very first email I sent out was to an agency in London, and he wrote this long email back, and it was quite interesting. He basically noted the potential of it in terms of the numbers, i.e. there's X amount of painters in the UK, and if they use your system and pay X amount, this could be the return. And that was something like January 2017.
Mm.
So you read this email, sitting down, I was on the sofa, take it all in. You think, I really should do something more about this. Because this is too good to, this is too strong in the head. The passion's obviously building up.
Yeah. And was that your first time getting that external sort of soundboard as well, other than obviously your wife?
Yes, it was. Someone just to look over the business plan, I guess, and see the potential in it. I mean, you could say, running a busy trade business, there's other distractions in life, but running a busy trade business probably delayed the position we're in now. But in a sense, the actual trade business is where the idea and creation has been born from. So
yeah, exactly.
It was a case of that point, the trade business was in place to have a normal life and pay the normal bills like everybody else does. Like I said, with a steady income, steady revenue, and that was the normal business. But it took a whole year later.
So from the email reply to say, from a guy saying the numbers add up.
A whole year later, and in that year there was things I was noticing in the trade business, and more research, and your brain can't stop thinking about it. The idea develops, and the business AppyQuote is co-founded, and my co-founder and I met at a networking event, similar to BNI, local event that we were both at. And he was, at the time, I mean, he's tried to implement 7 businesses. At the time, he was doing something. And I came up to him with an idea about a glass that was integrated with a straw. It was a creative idea about a glass that you could sell around the world to bars. And he said, we really must have a chat sometime. So in the summer of 2017, he rang me up. I was on a decorating job. And because, very time short, he said to me, I never forget his line, actually. He said, one of the things he said to me is, I really like the way you talk, he said. And it was only a 15-minute conversation. I said, I mustache. And we didn't connect for another further year.
Wow.
Which is insane, actually. There was obviously something there in terms of the business connection. And then we let it slip because, as I say, the existing business, Mint Decor Pressures, was taken over, I guess, in terms of brain power and manpower. And then a whole year later, I think he had a career change, and then my Mint Decor business was changing in terms of personnel. And I got married that year, 2018.
Ah, congratulations.
Thank you. Seems a long time ago now. And he rang me yet again and said, I've left the job I was in, and I think we got on quite well last year. We connected. Do you have any work in your current business? And at the time, there had a couple of staff that had left from Mint Decor, or people that weren't quite fitting the bill, or just people changed, don't they? So they were shifted out, and there was a project big enough for him to come in. And actually, he started in the Mint Decor business as a decorator.
Yeah.
Painting alongside me. And I think on the first project we did together, we went out for a beer on the Friday. Very business talk from day one, basically. The two of us were... he is also a very creative entrepreneur, founder, and as am I. And we are, I mean, we've had ideas since the age of 18.
Yeah. When did you ever have that thought about needing a co-founder or not?
I think it depends. I think sometimes co-founded businesses can really depend on your personality. And I am very much the person who, I mean, the Mint Decor business, work on my own self-esteem, because I'm the owner of that, and the nature of decorating in terms of the job is going to a room on your own sometimes, unless it's a big job and you need a team, to do the projects by yourself. So I'm comfortable working on my own and my own. I'm a self-starter, so to speak. But there was something about this journey that I thought it was almost always going to be way more fun doing it with someone else.
Yeah. Why not?
Right. And there has been conversations about, the idea was born out of Mint Decor, and it's a co-founded business that was split 50-50. And some people won't see the reasoning in that, I guess, because a lot of the knowledge comes from me owning a decorating business. But having said that, having co-founded with Lewis, there's multiple ideas that have come from him that have enhanced the product itself.
Yeah. So
I would happily sit here at this point and say I wouldn't be in this position without him, and he wouldn't be in the position without me. And that's just the way. That's facts,
Yeah, you wouldn't. For all you know, you could be having January 2020 sat on that sofa again, reading another email saying, "Hey, yeah, this is a great idea," but not doing as much with it as perhaps you should be, right? But the truth of the matter is, you found a great co-founder that you got on with, that you connected with, which is, I think, is the key on more of on a deeper level than just business. Because I think it's very easy for people to see the potential in someone in business and look over some of the personal facts, right? The fact that you can go for a beer with him, for example, is a great example of just being able to spend time with him. I know a few potential co-founders that were going to go into business together, and it was not like that at all. So there's a few red flags there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. But I think co-founding is always a tricky subject sometimes, because it is usually born out of one person's idea, and then often you get that awkwardness of, oh, what are you bringing to the table, and all these different conversations that come up. But like we said, you found someone, which is great. Last year you went down the investment route. So what made you go down that route? What made you go, right, we need an investor for this. We need to be having pump some cash into this to make it a reality?
Well, this is an interesting story because, as you say, the differences between the two founders can be that it takes more risks than the other one in terms of a financial position. Now that can have play tricks on you in terms of your passion for, we've all seen Dragon's Den where someone's spent £200,000 of their house, and the Dragons are saying you really want to stop spending any more money and just pack it up.
Yeah.
So you can go silly, or you can take calculated risks, which is what I think we've done. But one of the fascinating thing about the transition, Stephen, is in August 2018, once myself and Lewis were working closely together in houses, we were talking about the app in the properties we were working in. So we were able to talk about the product for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
We often said that if we were working for, like a lot of founders with tech products are working for big companies, and they're in different parts of the building or something, and they have to meet up in the evenings or discuss everything. We were here a full 8 hours a day, for a year and a half or something, discussing what we wanted to do. But I guess if you look back to the very early stages, August 2018, we were talking about sending the concept out to someone and building it for £1,000, someone in a different country who could build it cheaper. And Lewis is very hot on Photoshop and InDesign and the graphics side of things. And we were going to mock up the app, 8-page app, and send it out to a developer, get it done cheaply, start abstracting databases, even though, the problem with GDPR, sadly, you can't do that. So we had that stumbling block. But it just goes to show that's how we started. We and the transition was, we realized actually that doomed for failure, actually. Those actions that are a bit hasty and a little bit risky, should we say? I mean, £1,000 not a lot, but if you want to build a tech product that costs 50,000, yeah, you're borrowing money against the potential of it being successful.
Yeah.
And I think it was that conversation between us both. We never really, although we believe in the product, of course we do, but it was about dipping your toe in the borrowing aspect, banks, loans, which we I guess we never felt 100% comfortable with, although the passion came from me in terms of this is definitely going to be successful.
Yeah.
I guess there becomes a realization that it's a huge risk you're taking.
Yeah, massively. And especially with an app or technology, it's not always tangible until it's launched and you get those initial data comes on, those initial sign-ups, the usage side. So all this time, you know, you're still your predicted launch is in a couple of months, which is fantastic. So it is that not awkward, but sometimes difficult situation when you've got all these ideas for it and you've got all this passion for it, and then I can't download it on my app yet, on my phone yet. Do you find that as part of the journey quite frustrating because of that time that it actually takes to do it properly, let's say?
Yes, totally. I think the truth is we could have actually built our MVP a year and a half ago. That's the truth. But I mean, that was, you know, August to December 2018. I said we could have built that.
Yeah.
If we had the right tech team and the right money in place. But the funny thing is, having delayed that, yes, there's a frustration, like you said. And there were times last year when we were chasing funding and investment for the product that we thought, this is just not going to happen. This idea is going to die. Which hurts, actually, because you put a lot of work into it, you believe in it. And there, you know, in creeps doubt in terms of the possibility of it never launching. Yeah. So it makes you want to rush it out quickly for cheap, in a sense, to get it to market. But what we found is by delaying the process, we had a whole year of incredibly deep research into many aspects of the business, competitors, what users actually want to see, what they want to use. And it was about month 10 last year, around about October time, there was a feature that we realized wasn't going to work at MVP stage. And that's just a lesson, as if to say, you know, if we'd built that a year ago, we would have spent the money on that feature in the technology, and it would have been a complete waste of time. We'd have had to take it all down.
Oh, wow.
So, and that feature is based on there needs to be X number of users in using the product.
Got you. So now you put that in it's in the future feature list now.
Yeah. Even though we're passionate about the problem it could solve, it's not something that needs to be MVP. It'll be useless for the users as they sign up slowly.
And when you started speaking to investors and getting the formed idea out there a little bit more, how did you feel as a founder going from, you know, Mint Decor, painting and decorating, to now speaking about a technology, MVP, all these other almost buzzwords that we might say, that goes into doing what you've done?
Yeah, the transition is definitely a mental one, I would say, because I watched a brilliant Tesla video yesterday, Elon Musk, and I mean, we're not building rocket ships, for God's sake, but
not yet.
One of his stories was fascinating about how he had two businesses, and he had to. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube video. It's a motivational video on Elon Musk, and he was talking about having about $30 million, I think, and at the time he had to split the money between two businesses, and it's tough to do with the emotional separation from the business you love initially, Mint Decor, to something new.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a physical emotion. I think it's more, you know, within you that is difficult. But I guess the good thing is, because it's a product that it's a problem that I'm solving, that I personally lived, I think that makes it slightly easier. They are actually conjoined in a sense.
Massively. One thing I wanted to ask about is that you mentioned before, you're turning your competitors into customers. How did that feel? How did that mindset of going from, oh, they're my competition, they're, you know, they stole that project 7 years ago from me and I'll never forget it, to I really want them to become a customer now of AppyQuote?
I actually don't think it's sunk in yet, even though I don't think it ever will. Actually, it is very, very odd. I mean, you know, there are some great phrases, aren't there? That you know, one of the ways to do well in life is serve the masses. And I've just learned recently that there's knowledge about that in the Bible, apparently, that which is, you know, business lessons in the Bible is actually nuts. But I personally haven't read one. But you know, in terms of, you know, the fastest way to get rich is help as many people as you can, solve other people's problems. It was really born around that, to do with we've identified something that other people aren't particularly doing or using. They can have this information and the system.
Yeah.
But in one sense, the knowledge and being in the industry that we are creating the product in is helping, because people are listening to us. They're saying, you know, you seem quite genuine, you know what you're talking about, you've got industry knowledge. But we, without a doubt, we haven't properly started yet. Once we get onto Facebook and Facebook advertising, we are going to get haters, I think, because
why do you think that?
Well, I think following certain groups and following competitors on Facebook, someone's always got something to say about the system they've created, or, you know, I wouldn't use that, or this is not quite how it should be. So, I mean, there's pressure on me in a sense to get the system right, because people will say, well, you know, you've been quoting for 15 years in people's houses, and why doesn't it do this? Or, but the MVP is never going to do everything. We've got a 5-year vision, but we've got an MVP vision, and I think you have to think MVP small and vision big.
Yeah.
Get something out there. But there are some, you know, guys very local to me who would benefit from the product. But
do you have near you, do you have like that one pub that all the tradesmen go to?
I was in one last night, actually, for my mother-in-law's birthday in Kingswood in Surrey, and you could, yeah, there were the tradesmen there. Actually, I drove past one tonight, and the vans outside.
Yeah, that's what always made me think. It's like they normally get there at like 3 o'clock, and there's always vans, and there's so much beer. I'm always thinking, oh, the police would have a field day.
Yeah, no.
But do you think have you like mentally prepared yourself for that moment when you launch and it's public knowledge about this, and you walk back into that pub or that restaurant or somewhere, and where other painting decorators or tradesmen hang out?
Yeah.
And you've now changed your positioning effectively in the marketplace of being one of them to that, you know, the next Mark Zuckerberg of the quoting industry, right?
Yeah, this is one of the things that comes to the front of my mind occasionally and then goes right to the back.
Sorry to bring it to the front again.
No, because if it is at the front for too long, there'll be positions where it will sort of put me off, I guess. But it's definitely something to consider. I had a good chat with we got pre-sign-ups, basically a list of people who say they want the product.
Yeah.
And I had a chat with him on Saturday, and he said, the words were great, actually. He said, I really admire you. And I think words like that from users that see what you're trying to do is way more a nicer feeling inside than any first money that will hit the bank account. You know, those sort of that sort of feedback you get initially from people is what drives you and keeps you going, I guess.
Massively.
At the stages of not getting income from a product that you've been thinking about for 4 years. But it is going to be interesting. I think what we noticed, actually, the competitors, maybe 75% of them have been built by marketeers and software people.
People
So
that have
there is
never
a small
laid wallpaper.
Sorry?
People that have never done a quote or laid wallpaper or brought blue tape.
Yes. You know, and it's one of my drives, I guess, to get the product right, considering we've lived the problem, so to speak. They've done many things right, competitors. There's also a couple of things that they've missed, maybe, or I would do differently, or we are going to do differently. But you know, the fascinating thing is they weren't, some of them, not all of them. There are products out there where tradespeople have built, but majority of 75% of them maybe are from tech backgrounds or software or marketeers.
And they've probably just done a really wide survey of what's missing, and they've gone and created something.
Yeah.
Here's a question, and whether you or not you know the answer just yet is going to be an interesting one. Where do you see your journey going in the future with both having the Mint Decor and AppyQuote? How do you see the relationship between the two growing and moving forward?
Really good question, actually, because I guess once we sourced investment to build, there was a decision. I mean, last year we were 80% decorating and 20% AppyQuote, and we still managed to get signups, build our own pitch deck, get investment. You know, the hours we put in last year was insane. But we achieved our goal in that year. And now we come into this year, it's slightly different because we know we're definitely going to build, and there'll be a period where it is 100% AppyQuote and 0% Mint Decor. There is a discussion and a system to be had, maybe, where, you know, how do you feel about it? You want to keep that business going? Do you just want to let it die? I mean, from a competitor's point of view, you know, we're building a tech product for them. So they would say, well, surely you let your business die. But we said at the beginning of the call, it's your baby, and it's very hard just to see it distinguish. 15 years, a long time.
Massively. Has it got the potential to bring someone in to run it for you, so you can then focus the time?
I think that's what we'll do, because funny enough, you know, the business Mint Decor doesn't run on contracts. It's sellable to a point, but we don't do contracts. We don't do big maintenance work, huge office blocks. It's all focused around residential work, turnover under the VAT threshold, small business. So I think there is some value to it because of the longevity of the business and the good client base we got, and the similar repeating net profit. Someone could use it and grow it. But the funny thing is, if you let it go at this point, I mean, we received a call yesterday for a quote, and it's still providing market research for the app product.
Yeah, exactly. It will never cease to do that.
And it's amazing. You know, we often think we've nailed AppyQuote 100%, and then something happens in the trade business, and you go, "What about this?" So to get rid of it, I don't think. Although, like I say, my competitors in Mint Decor would have a different opinion. Maybe they would say, "If I'm going to use AppyQuote, why are you still, you know, why are you still running the decorating business?" But they have to realize that my passion really is helping their business. To be honest, now.
Yeah,
is helping their business through the app product.
And I think there's always going to be that transitional period anyway.
Yeah. The more the app develops, hopefully MVP successful launch. If it is successful,
when it is,
3 years, a long time to wait. Yeah, the magical 3-year number.
Yeah.
Bit long to wait to decide what to do with the decorating business, but I think it can just sit there and be managed. Someone else may take it over, and we'll use it as research, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's always interesting when I think when you go from that service-based or brick and mortar type business into a online technology-driven, technology-backed investor space, very Silicon Valley-esque sort of vibe. You're always going to have those crossroads in terms of, okay, what shall I do with what got me to where I am? And with your business, it's obviously, like we said, it's a great research space. You could always turn it into like Mint Decor Lab, where it's just all about the research, and that's how you run the business. For you, with AppyQuote, do you want this to go global? Do you want is it just going to be a UK type business? Where on your 5-year vision, what does that look like? And as much as you can tell us, because it's secretive.
Yes. Well, I guess pre-launch, there's certain features and functionalities and the way the product will function that we can't let out at this point.
Now I feel like I'm on Dragon's Den, where they just go, "Oh, come on, man, why did you come up?"
Just tell me who tell me who it is, the partner that you've got to deal with.
Yeah.
And then it comes out in the end, doesn't it?
Always.
They squeeze it out of them somehow.
But those chats in Dragon's Den can go on for like 2-3 hours. It's just all edited down to
really
that. Yeah, they go on for a long time.
Oh wow.
But obviously only people see that 5-10 minute edit of all those things. Yeah, there's some really great blogs and content about that, about how that it's just not what you see. And then obviously after, when they say yes to the investment, you've got this whole investigation process into the people, the business, the deal. So it's like something like 80% of the deals never happen anyway.
I heard that. I did hear that. Or some of them go to licensing deals, don't they?
Yeah, but also I think, slight tangent, but I think Dragon's Den now, most people aren't using it for the investment of the dragons. They're using it because it's great PR. They know that the moment that's aired, they're going to get calls and LinkedIn connections from investors, from people that are going to, venture capitalists, all those sorts of people that have seen that product and gone, yeah, cool, let's run with that. So if I ever went on Dragon's Den, that's exactly how I'd play it. I'd play it knowing that the people watching it are the actual investors.
Yeah, it's a great point you make. Do you know what? I've actually I've watched it for how long it's been on, all these years.
Yeah, 10 years and at least.
10 years. And the moment we got investment, actually, and just through going through this process of dealing with investors or working out, the process to what they want to see and what is expected from investors, it's starting to watch the program completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, I always liked it. I always, I see myself as a creative entrepreneur. Way too many ideas back in the early days that took zero action on because we had, we had too many maybe. And what I've learned in the last maybe year or two alone is just the word focus. The reason we've got in the position we're in is because we're 100% focused on one idea. And my co-founder was the same in his 20s. He had several, and none of them reached a good point or a starting point. And maybe in my 20s, I was a slight dreamer as well about products and ideas, never actually took the action needed.
Yeah.
Or write anything down. There was an idea I had years ago. I was in Marlow High Street, and there was someone walking ahead, and the lady I was with said, I really like her dress. And I said, that's fascinating. She took a picture of it, basically. And I said, that's fascinating. How come you can't, it's 7 years ago, back in 2011 or something. And I said, how come you can't take a picture of that and then search for it and buy it online instantly? And she said, that's a good idea. Did nothing about it. And in 17, I was working in a house, and there was a TV program on in the kitchen. I was painting away, and TV was on in the background, and it came up basically that ASOS had started this concept.
Yeah.
And that particular day, I remember it so well. It was in August. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I'd packed everything up and I went home at midday because I was so, it really got me. I was so cheesed off that someone else had kind of done what you failed to like even write down or put into play. Now, ASOS is different, isn't it? They've got such like weight behind them, and they might have been trying to do it 10 years ago, but the technology in the product perhaps wasn't in the right place at that time.
Of course.
But it was maybe that was part of the journey to actually get AppyQuote written down. It was like, right, no more of this sort of like just creativeness headspace. Just go and do something, actually action it.
It's like when you speak to those people, it's what I like to call like pub table talk. When you speak to people and they go, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. And you just think, well, why didn't you? You know, why didn't you implement? And you in 2017, was it, when you were on the sofa and you got that email about the guy saying great numbers? You could have just sat on that for another 5 years if you wanted to, and just gone, yep, great. So for a lot of people, that in itself will give people enough satisfaction that the idea is a valid idea. But you still, something in your head has clicked to go, no, now it's like implementation time. Now it's time to get stuff done.
I think also a big shout out to Lewis, the co-founder, you know, buddying up with him, so to speak. I mean, we were together every day, so we were kicking each other's ass, basically.
Yeah, that's it. You have massive accountability
every single day. And the problem with having an idea on your own and then coming home to a family environment and your friends' environment, who perhaps maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but that way inclined, you can't openly talk about it. If you can't openly talk about it, it's never going to go into action.
No. And
it's one of the biggest things about co-founding, I guess, is we pushed each other along and we're in that position.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the fact that you've gone from, I've just got that image of you sat on that sofa getting that email now, to actually securing investment in 2019, launching in 2020. You know, one of my final questions to you is, what else is going to happen in 2020? So launching the product, launching the business, so to speak, publicly.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, that's quite big already. I'll give you that. But
yes, well, the biggest thing, I must admit, actually, I want to get this point across. The biggest thing I've learned, even in the last 2 weeks, is, you know, the word focus. I mean, persistence was last year, but the word focus this year is going to be so key because I have that creative mind. I like art. I like taking pictures of my family now, creative Instagram account, my personal one, and, you know, and doing the research with the app last year, there were also 2 further products that I noticed should be in the marketplace.
Oh, no.
They're physical products, by the way. They're not tech products.
Yeah.
And the feel and the want is to go off and start a whole new pitch deck and start from scratch, because
don't do it, Jamie. Don't do it. Don't go there.
This is it. So this year is about I mean, last year was of course focus on AppyQuote, but even more so this year, everything else in terms of creative thinking, other ideas goes completely out the window. Someone told me a great phrase the other day, and he said, most millionaires he knows made their money in just one thing.
Yeah.
That's just one thing, and then they maybe had the opportunity to experiment. And
but it's like, like you mentioned Elon Musk earlier, right? When he sold PayPal, he was then allowed the funds to go off and start his bloody rocket company and his boring.com, which is effectively his boring.com started off as his ideas lab, where he just thought, yeah, let's try it, let's test it. And now they've dug tunnels under LA. So, you know, I think with creative people, and I'm the same, I'm always getting ideas. I'm always thinking, oh yeah, maybe I could do that. And I've had to, in the last couple of years, really rein it in to be like, nope, this is what I'm focusing on, and allow myself to do almost like home projects to give myself that fuel to feed that creativity. But you know, when you sell out or sell the business in 3-5 years, assuming that's one of the routes you've looked at, you know, and you're sat in your big AppyQuote mansion, you can do as many ideas as you want and not have to worry about a thing, you know.
That's what I'm homing in on, and the advice I was given even a couple of weeks ago is, you know, I think it was Warren Buffett who said the fastest way to be rich is to say no, actually.
Yeah.
And all my life, I've actually said yes to a lot of things, and it hasn't got me very far, actually. I mean, I'm proud of my existing business, obviously, but in terms of the bigger picture and products and ideas in the marketplace, focus on one and go from there. I did ask the question. I said, well, what about a product that someone else might steal or implement quicker than you if you don't take action? And the likelihood is not really, actually. The amount of people thinking about what you're trying to do is
that's a really common fear, though. People saying, you know, I don't want to tell you this because someone might steal it. I don't want to show this. And you're kind of thinking, look, if anyone's going to steal it, they would have done so already, right? The idea would have been born. Even if the moment you do go public, it's all stealable anyway. So you can't stop anyone stealing it. But it's a very rational fear, I think, for a lot of founders, because it is their baby. It is something that they've spent 8 hours a day in a room with their co-founder chatting about. But I've seen it slow down a lot of people because of that, because they want to make it perfect. They want to do this.
It's one of the biggest things we learned last year, probably about April, 3 or 4 months into our sort of mentorship, and the guys who developed the prototype, they were teaching us daily, you know, you just can't fear it. If you actually fear exposing what you're trying to do, it's going to slow you down.
Yeah.
And a couple of things that have really helped me in the last couple of years is you know, really opening up, being as open as possible, and just expressing what you're trying to do will help you more than, I mean, we were sending pitch decks to people on LinkedIn, investors, and then we were thinking, well, why haven't we heard from that guy? Where's he taking that information?
Yeah, you almost become a bit paranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be selective who gets the pitch deck. I take it, but I know that. But also, if it doesn't go anywhere, it's not your business idea is not going to go anywhere, is it?
Yeah, exactly. You've got to put yourself out there to get anywhere. You know, you've got to put one foot in front of the other to run a marathon. Well, a final question, one that I've asked to everyone, my friend. 3 bits of advice, and I know you've listened to a few, so you should be prepped for this question, Jamie. 3 bits of advice that you can give any founder that is perhaps going through a similar journey that you've gone through in the last couple of years.
3 pieces of advice. Never. The first one, I think, is the word persistence. Very much like Ray Kroc from the film The Founder. Literally, never give up.
Yeah.
Because there were so many hurdles last year and points where we could have packed it all in. I think that's the first one. You know, I think persistence and never give up is probably one of the first ones. The second one is, if you've got an idea and if it's existing or it's new, just tell literally everybody down the pub, everybody in your house, tell everyone you know, because that's the only way it's speaking into existence is the only way the product is actually going to be real. And I guess the last one, I don't know, quick off the top of my head, I think this decade is actually about collaboration, the word collaboration. There is so many opportunities to be had. The research we did last year, and we are trying to connect with people who are in the industry who already know our target market.
Yeah.
And we will look to collaborate with them. There's so many people will listen if you pick up the phone and look to collaborate. Collaboration, networking, and connections, I think, is the last piece of advice. It is literally all out there, and it's a much smaller world than you realize about the niche you're trying to hit, basically.
No, fantastic. No, I agree with all 3 of those. If anyone wants to chat with you further or get in touch, follow AppyQuote, what's the best way for them to do that?
We're on Instagram. at AppyQuote. We're on Instagram at the minute. You can email appyquote@gmail.com.
You need to get an AppyQuote.com email address straight away.
Yes, ready for launch. It took me years to get out of AOL, so
God,
yeah.
AOL. Let's not go down that road.
2001. If you want to, obviously my name is there. Connect with me through Facebook.
Great.
Or DM me through private message. Happy to hear from anybody.
There we go.
Who wants to connect.
Good man. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on Founders365. You've been guest number 28, and I'm sure you will be back on the show later in the year to talk about the launch and talk about how everything's going, and maybe even bring your co-founder on as well, right?
Yeah, he would happily join in, and happy to say thanks so much, Steven.
We'll make that happen. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This has been Founders365. Please share and enjoy.